A Man Can Be Destroyed But Not Defeated by Ernest Hemingway. The phrase, "a man can be destroyed but not defeated," from Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, captures the essence of human resilience, dignity, and the indomitable spirit that refuses to surrender in the face of overwhelming adversity. And while it may appear to be a simple maxim, its depth resonates across philosophy, literature, psychology, and the lived experience of countless individuals throughout history. It represents not just the struggle of Santiago, the old fisherman battling both nature and time, but the eternal condition of humanity itself, the recognition that while life may strip us of possessions, health, youth, or even life itself, there remains within us a power to resist, to persist, and to uphold our inner victory, even if our outer circumstances crumble. To be destroyed is to experience the collapse of the body, the loss of material gains, the harsh strike of fate, or the unyielding verdict of mortality. Yet to be defeated is something altogether different. For defeat is not imposed from without, but chosen from within. And Hemingway's philosophy insists that though destruction is inevitable in the mortal condition, defeat is optional, for it is a surrender of will, a concession of the soul, and a betrayal of one's inner dignity. In The Old Man and the Sea, Santiago hooks the giant marlin, a fish so magnificent and immense that his physical body, already frail from age, is pushed beyond every conceivable limit. His hands are cut, his back is strained, his muscles ache with exhaustion, and the sea itself seems to conspire against him. Yet he does not yield, because victory is not defined solely by bringing the fish to shore intact, but by the courage and nobility demonstrated in the act of struggle itself. Thus, Hemingway elevates the value of endurance over outcome, of process over possession, and of inner triumph over external result. At its core, this statement is a profound reflection on the duality of human existence. We live in a fragile vessel, subject to pain, failure, and eventual death. And in this sense, destruction is certain. Yet within that fragility lies an unconquerable essence, a spirit that, when properly aligned with courage and meaning, remains undefeated regardless of what happens to the body or fortune. To be undefeated means to remain true to one's values, to continue striving even when the odds are hopeless, to affirm life in the face of suffering, and to refuse the resignation that transforms temporary failure into permanent defeat. Santiago loses his marlin to the sharks that devour it during his journey back to shore. From one perspective, he is destroyed, his catch is gone, his body battered, his labor apparently wasted. But from a deeper perspective, he is not defeated because he proved to himself and to life that he could endure, that he could rise to the highest calling of a fisherman, that he could give everything without abandoning his pride or hope. The distinction is subtle but essential. Destruction concerns external loss, while defeat concerns internal collapse. Applied beyond literature, Hemingway's line speaks to the universal struggles of human beings across contexts, whether in war, poverty, illness, or personal tragedy. Think of historical figures like Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, stripped of freedom, separated from family, subjected to humiliation and hardship, yet never defeated, for his spirit remained unbroken and his vision of justice intact. His body could be confined, his rights denied, but his soul refused surrender, and thus he emerged not as a broken man, but as a leader of reconciliation and strength. Think of Helen Keller, robbed of sight and hearing in early childhood, a form of sensory destruction that might have condemned her to obscurity. Yet she refused defeat by cultivating her mind and spirit, eventually becoming a beacon of courage and education for millions. Think of Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor who witnessed the destruction of family, freedom, and dignity in the concentration camps, yet discovered in the midst of horror that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Frankl's insight resonates perfectly with Hemingway's dictum, Though the body and circumstances may be destroyed, the decision not to be defeated remains the sacred prerogative of the human spirit. Philosophically, this idea aligns with the Stoic tradition, particularly the teachings of Epictetus, who argued that while external events lie outside our control, our inner judgments and choices remain sovereign. A Stoic would say that fortune can destroy wealth, health, or reputation, but cannot defeat the will that consents only to virtue. Destruction is the fate of all mortals. Death awaits us all. Yet defeat occurs only when we allow despair, bitterness, or cowardice to conquer us before death does. In this way, Hemingway's fisherman embodies Stoic heroism. He faces the inevitability of loss without relinquishing his sense of dignity or courage. Similarly, Christian thought reflects this idea in the teaching that while the body may perish, the soul endures, and true victory is not in earthly survival, but in faithfulness to higher principles. Martyrs throughout history illustrate this distinction, their bodies destroyed by persecution, but their faith undefeated. Thus the phrase bridges literary, philosophical, and spiritual traditions, affirming that the essence of humanity is not measured by what befalls us, but how we respond. On a psychological level, the phrase offers profound guidance for individuals facing personal struggles. In life, we cannot control every setback. Businesses fail, relationships end, health deteriorates, loved ones die. These are forms of destruction, real losses that inflict pain and alter the course of our lives. Yet defeat is not the same as pain. Defeat is when we interpret loss as final, when we abandon the pursuit of meaning, when we cease to strive. Resilience research in psychology emphasizes exactly this point. Resilience is not the absence of suffering, but the capacity to continue forward in spite of it, to adapt, to find meaning, to preserve hope. A resilient individual may be destroyed in the sense of losing a job, experiencing divorce, or enduring trauma, but if they rise again, if they rebuild, if they preserve their identity and vision, they are not defeated. This is the essence of post-traumatic growth, the idea that individuals can emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate after suffering, because while destruction is inevitable, defeat is not. Hemingway himself lived a life filled with both destruction and refusal of defeat. He faced war wounds, depression, and multiple plane crashes, yet he continued to write with unflinching honesty, capturing the rawness of life and death with unmatched precision. His heroes, Santiago, Jake Barnes, Frederick Henry, are all characters who endure loss, pain, and existential struggle, yet embody a grace under pressure that became Hemingway's hallmark. Grace under pressure is simply another way of saying, you may destroy me, but you cannot defeat me. This ethos celebrates not invincibility, but integrity, not conquest, but endurance, not perfection, but authenticity. The phrase also carries ethical implications because it challenges us to redefine success and failure. In a world obsessed with external victories, money, status, trophies, Hemingway reminds us that the true measure of a person lies not in possessions or outcomes, but in the spirit with which they engage the struggle. Santiago's marlin is devoured by sharks. He returns with little more than a skeleton. By worldly standards, he failed. Yet by the deeper standard of dignity, effort, and courage, he achieved greatness because he proved the principle that man's worth is not erased by circumstances. This lesson is particularly important in times of cultural or economic hardship. Individuals may lose jobs, investments, or material stability, yet they need not lose their integrity, their compassion, or their courage. To cling to those inner victories is to embody Hemingway's dictum in everyday life. Moreover, the phrase teaches us about mortality itself. Every human being will eventually be destroyed by death. No body survives indefinitely. If destruction equaled defeat, then all life would be meaningless. But if we recognize that defeat is not destruction but surrender, then death itself does not defeat the person who lived fully, loved deeply, and stood courageously in the face of fate. The legacy of such a life endures beyond the body. in the memories of others, in the values transmitted, in the impact created. Thus, Hemingway's insight transforms even death into a stage for dignity rather than defeat. In modern contexts, this philosophy remains urgent. For activists struggling against oppression, the recognition that they may be destroyed without being defeated provides courage to face authoritarian regimes. For patients enduring terminal illness, the ability to affirm meaning and dignity despite inevitable decline offers peace and strength. For entrepreneurs or artists facing repeated rejection, the realization that failure to achieve a specific outcome does not equal defeat of spirit provides the persistence to continue. In each case, the phrase becomes not just a literary line, but a lifeline, a reminder that while circumstances may devastate us, they cannot dictate our final posture unless we allow them to. Ultimately, Hemingway's assertion invites us to live with a paradoxical wisdom, to accept destruction as part of life while